This is Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner, here today, host of Kennedy on Fox Business Kennedy. Town Hall editor and Fox News contributor Katie Pavlich. Syndicated radio host and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall. And joining us today from Atlanta, Georgia, Fox News chief political anchor Boebert, also the anchor and executive editor of Special Report. Hello, everyone. Leslie, you can't argue that there was somewhat of a gift handed to those Republicans on the ground in Georgia who would want to use words like socialism and, just taking over the whole nation with a more left view of things. And that gift came from Senator Chuck Schumer of New York when he said, first we take Georgia and then, basically remake America in his image. I'll just put it that way. So how do you battle that on the ground?
Well, first, because it's the new year, Happy New Year, everybody. And Katie, because it's the new year, I'll agree with one of your sentences, which is the outcome of this election will have an impact on either side. I agree with that. Harris, to your point, look, this is all about ground game, and you have messaging left or right. To me, it's a bit of fear-mongering. Joe Biden is no Maduro in Venezuela, and certainly he does not want to pack a court. And in addition to that, he is against a lot of the squads, which went from 4 people to now 6, and not the majority of the Democrats in the House or the Senate or the voters. So Georgia comes down to ground game in the view of, do I want $2,000 checks? Do I want a divided government? For some people, it may come down to, old regime versus new regime. For some people, it might come down to somebody they identify with, like the Reverend is African-American. John Ossoff is young. John Ossoff is Jewish. And that's what it's really going to come down to. I think it was smart, quite frankly, for the president and the president-elect to go down there because this is about ground game. But I do think some of the messaging from the president and Republicans and those in his party about Georgia and fraud might impact how many people come out. When we look at the numbers, Brett's absolutely right. Democrats do have a slight advantage. What happens in the northwest section of the state of Georgia, we have to look at because those numbers aren't looking good for Republicans, and we'll see if the president changed that with his messages.
Pro-Trump demonstrators are gathering in our nation's capital right now. That's a live look at Washington, D.C. It's what they're calling the March to Save America, and it comes one day before Congress meets to certify the Electoral College vote. Georgia Senator Kelly Loeffler announced last night that she will object to the election results in the presidential election, challenging President-elect Joe Biden's victory in some key battleground states. She will join 12 other GOP senators and more than 100 House Republicans who were demanding Congress appoint a commission to look into claims of election fraud. And Leslie, I don't know how a President-elect Joe Biden, if it ends up he's in the White House right on January 20th in the afternoon that day, and he is then tasked with bringing the nation together. I don't know how he ignores those 74+ million people and as Katie says, the legacy over the last 4 years of seeing a president that's faced so many investigations, so on and so forth. How does he bring the nation together? You can't just turn your back and say, as Barack Obama said, elections have consequences.
Elections do have consequences, and I think there's going to be a lot of consequences for individuals that need to reread their Constitution. Brett, I want to give you a shout out. I watched that segment, and you were right on with the Constitution, which is very clear. It is not Congress that decides who the President of the United States is. It is the voters via the Electoral College. You have 61 lawsuits lost. 50 governors, 50 states that have said Joe Biden is the president-elect, next president of the United States. You have had 3 recounts in Georgia, numerous recounts in other states. You have the Attorney General of the United States, Bill Barr, appointed by the President of the United States, currently Donald Trump, all saying there is no evidence of voter fraud, of mass widespread voter fraud.
We get that. My point was about unity.
You need to have proof. You need to have proof. When you talk about 74 million people who were upset with the outcome 4 years ago, over 60 million people were upset with the outcome. But, you know, we didn't have a Democratic House and Senate members spitting in the face of the Constitution. And I think,
wait a minute,
to Brett's
the
point,
former candidate Hillary Clinton was still writing books about what happened. All right, I got to get to Kennedy before we go to the commercial break.
She wasn't trying to overturn an election.
Leslie.
She wasn't calling states that she lost, asking them to find votes.
Comes as one of the House's newest members. Colorado's Lauren Boebert created quite a stir with the new ad, saying she will carry her Glock pistol around D.C. and on Capitol Hill. Yeah, Leslie, why the controversy?
Well, there are laws in place. I mean, you can't walk around with guns, whether you're a Democrat or Republican elected official or not in D.C., and you can't have a firearm on Capitol grounds. I would imagine AOC, Ilhan Omar, have some people that hate them, maybe threaten their lives. They're not carrying a gun. Rules are the rules. If you don't like it, change the rules. And the police have said, Metropolitan Police have said, that she will be held to the same standard as everybody else if she chooses to carry that firearm.
New reaction from Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. And this comes amid his battle with President Trump, as you know about, after a taped, leaked phone call of their conversation on the Georgia election results. Raffensperger denies that he recorded the call and took issue with the Trump legal team's assertion that the conversation was private and should not have been released. Leslie?
It's a clear violation of Section 52 of the U.S. Code 20511, but can anything be done about it? I agree with Brett. It's the substance. In the state of Georgia and in the District of Columbia, you only need one person to authorize a recording, so that there wasn't anything illegal there. But here's the problem. You know, Harris, you talk about the president being against the governor. The governor's a Republican. He's going to have a strong Democratic challenger. And if anything, the President Trump might be helping Democrats further in the state of Georgia with both the positions of Secretary of State and the gubernatorial seat going forward. That, you know, that actually could hurt just as messaging regarding, hey, look, there's fraud, don't support this. And some people might say, well, should I vote or should I not vote? And then lastly, if Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue win in Georgia, this sets a precedent for people to question the outcome of those elections as well.
A sizable crowd of Trump supporters gathering in Washington, D.C., protesting tomorrow's joint session of Congress. That's when lawmakers will certify the Electoral College vote. Politico reporter Tim Alberta says the media should not hold back when it describes these people. Here's what he tweeted about them. Words matter. It's past time we reformed our political terminology. We should not, for the rest of our careers, refer to any of these Republican Electoral College objectors as conservatives. They are radicals. They are extremists. There is nothing conservative about subverting democracy. Leslie, if you vilify the other side, how can you meet in the middle? I thought I'd ask it a different way this time.
Well, no, I actually agree with Kennedy on this one. I know, shocking. You shouldn't. Look, we have a First Amendment right, pretty much, left or right, to call, either side, radical, just like, everybody thinks that, we Democrats are socialist or, communist. I'm tired of the name calling. I'm tired of the labeling. I like what Brett said, earlier regarding we as a nation coming together and uniting. And quite frankly, just because somebody at Politico or anywhere else says, hey, don't call them conservatives, I don't think that's going to happen. Although there are those conservative Republicans in the party who do think that some, like Ted Cruz, for example, are taking some radical steps with what they're planning to do right now.